My husband and I went to check out Evil Dead the day after opening day, and this is what I thought about it. Honestly, I'm pleasingly surprised. I saw the previews and I was a little hyped to see it, but I was trying to set the bar a little low so I wouldn't get disappointed. However, this movie surprised me and the horror elements were perfect. So if you've seen the preview, then you know that this Evil Dead doesn't just stay in the woods. It actually comes into the city, into an apartment complex with a family. Now, the vibes of it gave me those feelings of nostalgia with the previous original Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell, and I must say that they did a great job. Now, Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi produced this movie, and I thought that, by them having this production, they did a great job by overseeing and, of course, approving this film. Now, it really dives in deep into the Evil Dead franchise, and I liked how the Evil Dead Rise, you got to see it from the conception of how this curse was brought over into modern day. So I thought that was cool. I really enjoyed it more than I enjoyed the previous Evil Dead. I was just a little disappointed, actually, scratch that, a lot disappointed with the creature, how it looked. I thought that the Antichrist was mediocre looking and it was nothing to really scare me or have it that shock value. So I really wasn't frightened, but this one, I would definitely say frightened me. A lot of the makeup and the special effects, the noises that the possessed person made, it was just crazy. And it being in this intimate space, like an apartment complex where it's old and run down and there's really nowhere to run. I think that isolation of it all, giving that same vibe as it was in the woods, really impressed upon the film and made it eerier. As always, if you enjoy videos like this, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share so this video can get out to others. Thank you so much for your support. Now, Evil Dead was directed and written by Cronin, and for a director and a writer, I think he did a great job bringing this story together and giving it that breath of life that we needed. And I think as horror fans, seeing this film actually brings back such good memories from the previous films, and the actors did such a stellar job, but the special effects and the gore, like gore is 10 out of 10. I didn't expect that much gore, honestly, and I know with Evil Dead they did have gore, but they really brought it in this film. It is very bloody, but nicely done. So this film, the premise is about a family of four. It's a mom, her two daughters, and she has a son, and they stumble across the Book of the Dead. Now, it follows the same premise as the previous movies, but I think that the way it's done, the book calling out to someone and, having them discover it, and of course, reading the book or looking at the book and playing the evil demonic record that comes along with it. So you have all of those old vibes, the old voices, all of those are going to come back to you. It's a flood of emotions when you see it on film and being played out in such a manner. But I think the most thing that stuck with me was the apartment complex. It gives you those, downtown city vibes. Like I said, it's a rundown environment, and it's really so, even though it's a big building, it still gives the feeling of this isolation, like cut off from the rest of the world. So the building is a character in the movie, of course. And I'm really a fan of settings, movie settings, and I thought that they did so well selecting this setting for this apartment building because it's so eerie. Just looking outside, you could tell something is definitely up with the scenery and the way that the stormy night is done and the dramatic dynamics of it all, and also giving you that fearful vibe of just the environment itself. So I think Evil Dead Rise will definitely stimulate horror movie lovers and fascinate them and bring all that nostalgia back from the other movies. I think it did a better job at capturing the Evil Dead franchise than the previous movie. And I really love that it was able to tie the story back together. Of course, I feel that this Evil Dead left the gateway open for other films to rise. And I really like the whole play upon, them being able to possibly do more with this franchise and expanding it. Now, I don't want to see this franchise go to where it gets watered down. I would love them to keep the same momentum and, keep fans still engaged and not just using the same old stuff. Now, of course, they did do the same recipe as the previous movies, like, for example, having it, you know, in the woods or having it in an apartment complex, and, you know, the possession, of course, with the family and the friends and so on. That same formula does work, but I don't want to see it repeated in the movies that follow. And I know that this movie left the gates open to create more of the franchise, but I don't want to see it get watered down, because I think that that's where fans start to tune out. Now, I really love the previous Evil Dead, even though it was, I guess, a little cheesy if you watch it now, but it still has that nostalgic feeling with Bruce Campbell reprising his role and then him having the chainsaw hand. I thought that that was so cool. It went from, you know, Evil Dead and then Evil Dead Army of Darkness. And it made, even though the first Evil Dead it had some funny moments, I think the second Evil Dead, The Army of Darkness, of course, that went into more of a dark comedy. And I think that they can achieve that with these films. However, they have to be, I think, considerate of the tone and still keeping it a horror movie. They can definitely achieve that with the gore, because I did not see any problems with the gore. It was insane. And in the film, the mother is living in this rundown apartment complex. And of course, you could tell that she's struggling financially. The husband's no longer in the home. And I don't want to ruin the movie for you, because I don't want to do any spoilers, but I would definitely say you can relate to the characters right off the bat. Everybody's coming with their own unique problems, and they're coming together as a family to figure out exactly what's going on. So I would definitely say you will be able to you know, identify with these characters that they have on screen. They're different personalities, they're big personalities, and just trying to think of ways to be able to maneuver within this house with this situation going on and fighting this evil and trying to contain it, I think was the craziest part for me. Because I'm thinking as a moviegoer, like, what would I do in that particular situation? What would I do in that scenario and be able to make it out alive? Because it gives you the feeling that there is hopelessness. And I think with Evil Dead, that's how it kind of captures it, because if you've looked at the previous movies, you've seen where the other characters were, you know, being plucked off, and it's like a disease because it keeps spreading. The demonic the demonic entity is passed from different people to different people, and them finding the Book of the Dead and the book requiring blood to reopen it and cause havoc and possess other people. So I thought that was interesting that they still have those elements tied in. They didn't change up the aspect of the movie too much, which I liked. They did keep it authentic and true to the characters and true to the legacy of Evil Dead. So with Evil Dead Rise, it's just bringing you into the present moment. It's giving you a new environment. And I like the new environment change from the woods to the city into this apartment complex, because I think that that was nicely done with The Ring, because people think that these curses are so contained and they can just stay in the woods or stay in Japan and not be brought over, you know, from, you know, as with The Grudge, brought to the United States from Japan, or as with Evil Dead, brought from the woods to the city. So I thought that that was an interesting spin on it, and it makes it more like this thing could actually happen here. It could happen to any one of us, you know, stumbling across this book. But I mean, if you really think about it, like, you have to be so curious to find a book and play the record and listen to it backwards just in order to summon these things. So it's just funny how I think people are doing too much when they find these items, and when they find them, it's never a good idea to, you know, use these items, especially because there's a demonic power attached to it, and a strong demonic power. It just spreads like wildfire when it's let loose. Also, what I enjoyed about Cronin's film is the cinematography was so nostalgic. It had a nice feel to it, because you saw where the camera was chasing the particular people, or, you know, chasing after the building or panning into the building, and it had that rapid flood, like the rapid movement where it felt like something insidious or something, you know, demonic and super strong was just bursting through these areas. So I really liked how they did the camera angles. It made it more engaging and frightening, because it's like in your face and, you know, right there with you. So I really liked that. I also got different vibes from it. There was a little bit in there that felt it was peppered in from the Overlook Inn from The Shining. I had, there's a nostalgic feel to that part of it, with the gore element, and if you watch the film, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But overall, the movie itself, out of 10, I'll definitely give it an 8. I really enjoyed it. There were a couple of things that I really wanted to see, but I understand. But for what it was very good, and I definitely suggest you running out to the theater to check this one out. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of Evil Dead Rise if you've seen the film, and also what you think is going to be the future of the franchise. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.